Hello everyone, welcome. This is Allegedly Caleb, and what you're looking at is what I've been working on for the last, it's been a while, like last 6 months on and off. This is the German invasion of Poland, Operation Fall Weiss, and I have pretty much gathered the entire orders of battle of each side, as well as what was most likely their table of equipment and all their organizations and everything. And I've stuck them in a bunch of spreadsheets and created all of these unit counters so that I can, and this is going to sound really, it was quite the project. I get very focused, hyper-focused on things. And this is the result of that. This is Operation Fall Weiss. It takes place, each unit moves like a typical board game where different tiles have different movement factors, and each movement phase is broken down by hours. So you have your 8 a.m. movement phase, 10 a.m., 12 p.m., 2 p.m., 4 p.m., and 6 p.m. And then units stop and rest. Sometimes units will be able to move at night, but we'll talk more about that later. But as you can see, we have all of both sides, Poland and Germany, and even Slovakia down here in this dark green color. It is currently the 8 a.m. turn, so some units are already in combat, and combat in this game is going to be simulated in, what's that game called? One second, there we go. Combat in this game is going to be simulated in in Advanced Squad Leader. I've created a bit of a solitaire. Well, I'm using the solitaire rule set, but I'm trying out a couple different ways because I don't want to. I'll probably be doing this for a long, long time, but I don't want to make the actual individual battles take a month to do each, or else I'll die before this is done. I'm also I've created a system to essentially auto-resolve some of these battles if I don't feel like fighting them, which I'm sure will happen a lot because there's going to be a lot of battles and only some of them will actually be interesting. And the interesting ones are going to be the ones that will be up on the channel. I am currently working on the first one. Wow, I've never seen it run this badly. Maybe it's because I'm so zoomed out right now. I'll have to zoom in a little bit. But anyway, I'm going to show you an overview of what the map looks like. Most of the map I've gotten from from a different game, the Operational Art of War. Check it out. It has some really cool maps, and this is actually a modded version of the campaign map in that game. And I thought it was really good. You can see here's Warsaw. The cities in this game are big enough to cover multiple tiles, which I really like. So you can have that like really, really interesting, really crazy combat as you watch a city being fought over hex by hex. Even Lotz here, same sort of thing. Lotz itself is 5 hexes. We're going to go up north. You've got Danzig up here. So I've already moved each unit for their 8 a.m. turn. So 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. So all the red circles are units that are currently in combat. So if you don't know much about the invasion of Poland, one of the first events that happened is in the free city of Danzig. Essentially, the war was fought because this corridor right here, it's called the Polish corridor. So you've got this whole area up here is East Prussia. It's actually ruled by Russia now. But back then it's East Prussia. And after World War One, Germany was split in two. So this corridor used to belong to Germany, and now it belongs to Poland. And there were a lot of ethnic Germans in this area, and the excuse Germany used to invade Poland was essentially that this corridor should be German, and specifically this city, Danzig, should be German. Now, they ended up fighting a huge war over it, and that's what led to World War II. But you'll see Poland has some pretty interesting units. They've got some pretty interesting tanks. They've also got some really antique, like World War One and interwar tanks, or tankettes really is what they are. A lot of them being from France, because France was Poland's primary arms distributor. So a lot of the French weapons or a lot of the Polish weapons are actually from France. Little fun fact. But anyway, let's take a look at the map and at the German movements. So in Danzig, we have the Eberhard Regiment, or the Brigade. They are a ethnic German group that basically rose up in Danzig and took it over. They're the main ones who fought the Battle of Westerplatte, which is a really famous battle that took place during the first couple days of Germany's invasion of Poland, where essentially 200-ish Polish soldiers held off many more Germans for a very long time, or much longer than everyone thought they would. So we also have they had some SS with them as well. The Heimwehr Danzig. Essentially, they're like a police, sort of like a police force in Danzig. They rose up. They eventually went on to join Totenkopf, I believe, or maybe one of those other SS units. But sorry, it's being very unstable right now. I swear, I recently stopped my computer from overclocking because I play Escape from Tarkov, and that game will crash if you let your computer overclock. At least if your graphics card isn't. My graphics card is actually very good, but it's not doing so well right now. I've got a lot of counters, so I'll talk a little bit about that. Almost all of these counters are either at the regimental level, or they're all either a regimental size or battalion size. The way these battles work is the way those smaller units get attached to the bigger units. If you've ever played like any Gary Grigsby games, battalions and smaller sized units, I just attach to one of these regimental sized units, and then that's how they'll be attached in a battle. So for example, a couple of these units actually have units attached to them. For this battle I'm actually fighting right now, versus the Eberhard Regiment 1 and Heimwehr Danzig against the 1st Polish Marine Infantry Regiment, or maybe, yeah, I think it was a regiment. They have a company, or is it a platoon? I think it's a company of SS pioneers who... This is where the battle for the Danzig post office happened. So they're doing that. They've got a couple interesting Austrian armored cars with them as well. I'll show a preview of that battle later, potentially in this video or another one, and just how it's going so far. I also keep track of how each of the units performed. In those actual battles, I'm not simulating an entire regiment fighting each other in advanced squad leader. That would take forever to do. So essentially every single company is represented on the map of advanced squad leader by one unit. So if it's an infantry company, they're represented by one company of, or one unit of infantry, and so on. And not the entire unit doesn't go on the map right away either. But anyway, that'll get explained later. So these units are trying to take Danzig. Eventually they'll be reinforced by some of these border units. Some misspellings here. It's fine. I had so many of these units I had to input the names for. The 207th Infantry Division has some regiments that have crossed the river and are almost on their way to Cartouzi, which has an ON battalion in it. That's about 27 units of advanced squad leader. So let me turn on my pen really quick. Essentially, they're going to try to make their way along this road right here and mop up everything up here. So that's what these guys are all going to do. Now, we've got more border command. They're going to make their way along and sweep through the woods in the Polish corridor. Now, this is where it starts to get juicy. Oh, froze again. Well, you can see here, we've got the 20th Motorized Infantry Regiment. I know those are mechanized unit like formations, but I didn't have access to an actual motorized infantry version, and there's no mechanized infantry yet at this point in the war, so I figured I'd just use those instead. You can see they're moving into Chojnice, I think, which has a another ON battalion, I think is what it's called, and behind it is the 27th Infantry Division of Poland, along with a couple of ON battalions. They've also got a cavalry brigade. That's right, Poland did use cavalry brigades during World War II. Now, they weren't necessarily all like a lot of people imagine the Polish cavalry is like they'd charge German infantry positions with sabers and lances. That's not what most of them actually were like. There were a couple Polish units that did that, but for the most part, they were mounted riflemen. So they would have their horses, they would rush off quicker than an infantryman could, and better than a lot of people could on a bicycle, because you can't go through rough terrain on a bicycle most of the time. Not with the kinds they had back then, at least. And then they dismount, say, I don't know, a mile or less from the enemy positions, and then they'd act as regular infantry from there. So it was actually not too bad. The problem is it was a lot logistically to keep a unit like that supplied. You had to give the horses enough feed to, especially around the winter time when they weren't able to graze as well. And just maintaining that many horses is difficult to do. But they also have some cool armored cars with them. So that will be a fun unit to see go into action. But as you can see, we have the 4th Army, which will be essentially sweeping through the Polish corridor. I believe Guderian's Corps, which might actually be the 19th Motorized Corps, maybe? Or maybe the 2nd, or not the 2nd, the 2nd Motorized Infantry Division was attached to the 19th. But anyway, I think that's his corps. Historically, what they did is they swept through the Polish corridor, essentially cut it in half, and then came down to attack Warsaw from the north. Or I think they were able to cut behind it, actually, and create the big pocket that it eventually made. But with them, I'm thinking we're going to do something similar. So this is the 4th Army headquarters right here. They've got a couple of units attached to them. We'll wait to see where they go. But anyway, so essentially this army group right here, or this corps, is going to be trying to sweep through here, follow these roads, and eventually either probably using that road make their way around and either cut down this way into Warsaw. This is a road that would be good to use, or we could straight up bring them up, have them embark on a train around here, and then train their way all the way over, say like here, and then make their way in behind the Polish position, like back here. There's a lot of good open ground up here for tanks. So ultimately we're going to want to encircle Warsaw. So that's our plan with them. It'll be pretty similar with, well, that's the motorized core and our armor. All of our armor is pretty much concentrated in there. So we've got everyone else over here is infantry. And our infantry are pretty much just going to clear these woods, clear these cities over here. You can see this is light urban hexes. Excuse me. These are heavy urban hexes. That's something that armor and vehicles aren't going to do very good in. So we're going to try to get through there, cover this river, and start sweeping. Sorry, the game's frozen again. Let me open it up. But yeah, that's essentially what all of this infantry is going to be doing. A lot of this infantry is like more border guards. Landschusen, I think, too. There we go. Oh, jeez. I must need to turn down the my drivers did need to be updated. Maybe that's part of the issue. But anyway, so as you can see, there's a lot of rough terrain. They're going to need to sweep around this whole area and over here. Poznan is right there. Some of these units will eventually sweep into Poznan. Am I feeling a little earthquake? Yeah, there's a tiny little earthquake going on right now, I think. I live in Southern California, so it's quite common, but we've had a lot more of them recently. Not enough to where I'll need to get under my desk, I think. But anyway, so that's 4th Army. Everyone up here is part of the 4th Army. So that's what they're going to be doing. Essentially, once they sweep up the Polish corridor and all of this, they're going to start pushing on Warsaw from this direction. Maybe try to get up either on this side or on this side of this river right here. It depends on how well these positions over here hold. Like Malwa, that's the site of a famous battle where German panzers had to fight against a fortified Polish position, and actually they didn't fare so well. In this campaign, that's actually something interesting, is that the Germans made a lot of mistakes with their panzers, but it was the first time that they were using them in this sort of large maneuver manner. Poland was really like a testing ground for the new German tactics. But eventually we'll need to get units across the river. The main thing though is all the rest of our main hitting force is down here. These forces aren't super powerful, so I don't know if they're going to be able to penetrate really deeply into the Polish defenses up here. So really the main job is going to come down to these guys. But we'll touch up on these units first. So we've got units of the 3rd Army, which is on this side of this river, the Wisla. So they're trying to secure this bridge. This blue thing means that the bridge was destroyed, but they're trying to build it up, or at least build a temporary bridge so that they can cross the Vistula and Wisla. I don't know if that's a different river. I think it is actually. The Vistula is a lot further into Russia. But anyway, so they're trying to cross into here and open up supply for these units up here so that the Polish don't surround them and cut them off, because that's something they could do. They could do that. Anyway. Oh, froze again. The main thing these units from the 3rd Army will be doing is trying to push south across the Wisla. 1 second. I hope. It keeps trying to close, but then it ends up being fine again. Wait for the program to respond. Anyway. Yeah, once some units start dying, then maybe the map will start performing a little bit better. But for now, we'll just have to deal with this. I don't know how much we're actually going to be seeing entire units die unless they're surrounded. There we go. All better. So you can see 21st ID, which is part of the, what is that, 21st Corps? Yeah. The first number is the regiment number, but they're coming down to Grudiets, I think. I don't know exactly how you pronounce it, but it's actually a fortified town. They're coming down to engage the Polish defenders who are defending there. I mean, once that's taken, we'll have secured a river crossing in this area that, again, those German panzers can use to cross the river. And there will always be that way, too. But anyway, we have more German units, including a unit from an armored unit that was attached to the 21st Corps that will be supporting the 228th Infantry Division, making their way down to this river crossing where the Polish have set up their defensive line. Got Torun, which is actually a really important town. That's where a lot of the Polish supplies were set up right there. So they're making their way down here. We've got more German regiments from the 61st Infantry Division and the 11th Infantry Division making their way down to, I think these guys are going to come and try to hit this position. Just like I think these guys are, or maybe they're trying to flank this area. I'd have to check my orders for everyone. But anyway, so overall, these guys are going to try to assault this position, but it is a well fortified position by the Polish. So I don't know how well will be able to take over it. Historically, they didn't actually penetrate this position. They had to flank it, and then the Polish had to withdraw or be encircled. Anyway, we've got a bunch of Polish reserves over here. They're essentially going to be making their way to different areas of the battlefield. This is actually a group that was held in with reserve. So you can see they're actually named after this river. They're going to be sitting around here and waiting to be deployed. So all these black lines mean fortified areas. Now, a lot of these areas are going to become fortified in time. So here's an SS unit, SS Deutschland, or Deutschland, with the Kampf group, which it's literally, this was the first Kampf group of the war, I believe. So that's actually where the name came from. These guys. I think I might not be right on that. Anyway, then we've got more German units over here. Pretty much all of these guys are trying to get over the river. So each of them have their own little areas that they're going to try to cross. The Polish have fortified. And as you can see, this big army here, if we can keep it occupied up here, because again, these units aren't we're not really expecting them to take Warsaw. You know, they're more of a group to tie forces up in the north and put enough pressure to where we can keep the Polish from just completely we're probably going to try to get some of these units and surround them before they can withdraw across the Bug River, which is a famous counterattack scene of this war. There's Modlin. That's Fortress Modlin. That's one of the last areas to actually hold in this war by October. So that's another thing. This war took the Germans about a month to wrap up. They did have the Russians' help, or I should say the Soviet Union at this time. They had their help because they came in and, as you might know, back then, the Germans and the Polish had a treaty, a non-aggression treaty, and a treaty to split Poland in two. Now, came as quite the surprise to many different people back in the day. But anyway, we also have a little bit of a position up here, and most of these units are either infantry, artillery, or cavalry, split among this area to push the Germans away. We've got some German units that are motorized or have some, armor, but for the most part they didn't waste much armor up here. Most of these units are not regular German soldiers, so they're going to come and try to secure this area, maybe see if we can cut off some Poles, but not expecting too much from them. Let's make our way to where the main battle will be taking place. Now this is part of Poland, and Polish territory extended further to the west over here, but the Germans didn't attack from that direction, which is why it's kind of ignored. There's going to be one border guard, what would you call them? A corps. Feel a little bit of that earthquake aftershock. A little bit of a corps that'll eventually be coming in, I think, the next turn, either then or on day 3, to sort of start dealing with Poznan. But the Germans are going to largely ignore Poznan at the beginning. We've got some border units which are moving in a little bit, but yeah, we've got the 8th Army, down here. So the 8th Army, they have a lot of armor, a lot of motorized units, and they're going to be punching essentially straight for Lotz. So up these roads. Yeah, there goes that earthquake again. It's having an aftershock. It's kind of crazy. Anyway, so yeah, essentially we're just going to be following these rivers, trying to get across the Warta. And yeah, I think that is a different river. Follow these roads, which one of them is actually fortified already, to take Lotz. And eventually, the best area for the armor to push would probably be up around this little river into this open terrain, like right here by where Warsaw is. The infantry will essentially be pushing up, trying to take these river positions, these cities, these bridges. Eventually, we'll have to storm Lotz, and then the infantry will be sort of surrounding, clearing these heavy woods. So I'd imagine that the Polish are going to be forming a defensive perimeter around maybe this river, trying to keep us from getting to Lotz. Because you have to remember, in their mind, they think that the French and the British are going to be attacking Germany from the west. So they think that if they just hold out long enough, they'll come and help. Kind of the way that they actually did with Norway, where they sent units to go help them. But that never happened. So essentially, the Polish are on their own. Now, who knows? The Polish might have actually lasted a lot longer if the Soviets didn't invade from the east. Essentially, that's when Polish morale collapsed. Many Polish units actually were able to flee south and escape into like Romania, I believe. And then they made their way up to, they were able to get up into the UK from there, which is pretty impressive. That's where a lot of those Polish divisions are. I don't know if there were very many of them, but there was at least one Polish division that fought with the Commonwealth for a while. Anyway, we have, what is this, 10th Army, which is a lot more motorized units and armored units. They're going to be doing the same thing, except they're going to be swinging south, following these roads. Nice area for armor right here. So trying to push up this way, maybe go up here or go this way. Getting in behind Warsaw. And this area is beautiful tank country. So trying to get up and attack Warsaw from the south is probably where we're gonna see the most success. If we can get up around from the south, maybe even meet up with the corps from 4th Army, I think, will completely cut off Warsaw. That would be amazing. Now, this army, 10th Army, I think, did I say the 10th Army? Oh, we got the 8th Army. Oh, you know what? I think down here we do only have 2 armies. 8th Army, 10th Army, and then the last army, 14th Army, is down here. So these units, which are still part of the 10th Army, are going to try to... They'll probably take care of like the northern part of this whole urban area. And yeah, same thing. Go up these roads. Then the 10th Army, which contains all of this stuff. Mostly it's infantry. There's a lot of mountain units, as you can see, because of this mountain range. That's pretty important. They're going to be trying to take Krakow, get up through these mountains. Maybe these units can even cut off some of the mountain units if they're successful. Some of the Polish mountain units, some of those mountain defenders, and then eventually they'll be aiming for Lvov or Lvov. Is that? No, I think that is Lvov. I think that's how you pronounce it. They're going to be aiming for this city. Now the Russians are all over here. So they're going to be coming that way. Yeah. So that's the overall plan. All of these guys are going to try to penetrate through these Polish defenses, through these passes, and kind of do the same thing. Oh, froze again for a little bit. I'm going to have to check and see if that was an earthquake that we saw. Anyway. Come on. Now, in terms of Polish objectives, now once this campaign is over, I'm aiming to begin a campaign of Denmark and Norway, which it will be the first time where we really start seeing some of the other allied nations. And yeah, these units are going to be like their losses are going to be maintained throughout the game. They'll receive replacements, obviously, but if a German unit, say, is cut off and destroyed, like that will carry over into the next game. Like they might be raised again, but as a green unit, or they might not be raised again. I don't know. We'll see. That's a long time from now. But the other German units that don't take too many losses or that experience a lot of fighting, they'll come in and their units will have more of a chance of spawning on the map as regulars. Or not as regulars, as like veteran units. And that's a good thing for them. So, plus there is actually a die roll for those support units to be part of the battle. And if they don't make that die roll, then they aren't able to join any battles for probably the first half of the turn, like up until 2 o'clock maybe, and then they'll get another die roll to see if they can join again. Maybe if a unit is more experienced, it will have a modifier that will help it pass that die roll, that sort of thing. Yeah. So here, one more interesting part. Here's the Slovakians. They're mostly infantry. They weren't the best. I mean, it wasn't their war. It was Germany's war. So they didn't really have a ton to fight for. They've got some tanks, which is cool. Looking forward to seeing that. But they're going to help push up towards Lvov as well. Maybe try and secure some of these river crossings so that some of these other units can get over here a little bit easier. We'll see. And yeah, one of the Polish objectives for their units, if they can escape, like once certain doom, once they seem completely doomed, they're going to be able to escape in 2 directions. First, they can get up here into I think this is Lithuania or Latvia. I think it's Lithuania that actually helped get some Polish people out of there and up into the UK, where they formed some of those new divisions. If they can get some units maybe up here or up here, then We'll give them over to the French and English during the next big campaign game, which is going to be, I think it's Fall Blau, where the Germans invaded France. So might see some Polish units there, and they would most likely be veterans if they've been fighting, which would be good to see. They could either go that way, or they could come down here into Romania. I don't know if Hungary accepted them. I don't think they did. I think it was just Romania. Maybe it was Hungary. I'll have to check in on that. Anyway, so those are going to be their two avenues of escape. If they say get a division out, or that amount of men, and then we'll get to see that in the next game, which will be pretty cool. But anyway, everyone, I hope this interests you as much as it interests me. It's been tough, honestly, making both rules to go with it. I've been getting a lot of ideas from different board games that I like, as well as a campaign that was similar to this, but a little smaller in scale. Not actually that small. Something like this is really made to be played with multiple players too. So one person, me, doing it is going to be pretty slow. Now, if you're interested and want to participate or anything like that, let me know. I'll think about it, especially in the advanced squad leader games, or even if you want to take one, I can give you the rules and everything, and you can play the battle out. Send me the log files. That would actually be a great help. But I hope everyone enjoyed the video, and I hope that this was as interesting as I think it will be. So let me wait for this to respond. There we go. So, oh, you know what? One thing I remembered that people might be thinking of. Planes. So planes took a serious part of this game, or of the campaign in real life, as I'm sure many of you know, if you're into this history. The way ground support is going to work is Advanced Squad Leader has pretty much calculated how likely it was for German and Polish planes to participate in ground support during this campaign. So before each battle, I'll roll for it, and then if they do get ground support, then I will also roll for the type of plane it will be, whether it'll just be a fighter or Stukas or even bombers. We'll see. Now, yeah, there's some other, I'm still developing some of the rules for stuff like bombardments, replacements, and even air combat, but we'll see, because I don't want that to go to waste, because I think there's some cool things that could work, some cool ideas. It's just, there's a lot of work already in this, and really I want to make as little other work as I can, because there's a lot to do. But anyway, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this cool video, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.